Breaking news! Unfortunately, it happened. It was recently confirmed, and this has left all the fans very sad. I'm going to tell you all the details of the uproar that has taken place in the Cleveland Browns. But first, make sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel to always be well informed. Let's go! Okay, this was a tough one to swallow. Myles Garrett, the face of this franchise for the past 8 seasons, has officially requested a trade. That's right, the man who once said he wanted to be a Brown for the rest of his life is now ready to move on. It's a punch in the gut, no doubt, especially for a player who gave everything for this team, despite being part of so many losing seasons. Garrett's decision to make this request public says a lot about how frustrated he is with the current state of the Browns. And honestly, can you blame him? At 29 years old, this all-pro defensive star wants a shot at the Super Bowl, and time isn't exactly on his side. He needs a team with a clear vision and stability at quarterback, 2 things Cleveland has struggled to provide. But here's the part that really stings. Garrett hasn't always felt this way about Cleveland. In fact, last year, he was all about bringing a championship to this city. There's a resurfaced clip from Up and Adams with Kay Adams that's been making the rounds on social media, and it really puts things into perspective. When asked about his definition of success, Garrett said, "I want to be able to hold this up and have a parade with the city of Cleveland. A historic team that did it all and brought the trophy back to Lake Erie. That's what's important to me." Kay Adams then challenged him, saying, "The scariest guys in NFL history, James Harrison, Aaron Donald, Ray Lewis, they've won. Can you do that in Cleveland?" Garrett's response? "Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to it." At the time, it made sense for Garrett to be so optimistic. The Browns had just finished a miraculous 11-7 season and even made it to the wild card round against the Houston Texans, thanks in part to some surprisingly great performances from Joe Flacco. The defense was elite, and the offense looked capable enough to make a run. They just needed better quarterback play and to keep their dominant running game intact. But we all know what happened next. The wheels came off in 2024. The defense couldn't carry the team on its own, and the offense was a revolving door of 4 different starting quarterbacks. The result? A disastrous 3-14 season. And now, Cleveland fans may be forced to watch Garrett suited up for another team instead of seeing one built around him. So what do you think, Browns fans? Is there any way the front office can convince Garrett to stay, or is this the end of an era in Cleveland? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. This is a guy who gave everything to this team, despite being a part of more losing seasons than anyone cares to count. And now, he's done. He wants out. Garrett's statement was heartfelt, but he also made it clear that this was not a decision he made lightly. Here's part of what he said. "My love for the Northeast Ohio community and the incredible Cleveland Browns fan base made this one of the hardest decisions of my life. These past 8 years have shaped me into the man I am today. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It was always to compete and win a Super Bowl. With that in mind, I asked to be traded to the Cleveland Browns. Let that sink in. The man wanted to win it all here, with Cleveland. But instead of that parade through the streets of this great city, he's now looking for a way out. And can we really blame him? He's 29, at the peak of his powers, and the clock is ticking. Meanwhile, the Browns are still trying to figure out who their starting quarterback will be in 2025. So how did we get here? Who's to blame for pushing Garrett to this point? Let's break it down. First, Kevin Stefanski. Now, I know Browns fans have mixed feelings about Stefanski, but we have to talk about this. He doesn't directly coach the defense, but he is responsible for personnel decisions and the all-important quarterback room. And let's be real, those are 2 areas that are holding the team back. Whether it's hiring Ken Dorsey as offensive coordinator or keeping Deshaun Watson around long past the point of reason, Stefanski's decisions haven't paid off. Remember that 4th straight loss to the Eagles this season? Stefanski backed Watson, who at the time had a miserable 21.4 QBR. "I think Deshaun gives us the best chance to win," Stefanski said. That was painful to hear, especially when it was clear that Jameis Winston should have started much earlier than he did. But it's not just Stefanski. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson. Look, if the Browns could get out of his contract, they probably would. But they're stuck. And Garrett knows it. Watson was supposed to be the game changer, the guy who would lead this team to greatness. Instead, he's struggled to stay healthy, and when he's on the field, he's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. That's not what the Browns thought they were getting when they gave up so much for him. And finally, we have to point the finger at the front office, starting with Jimmy Haslam. The decision to bring in Watson, knowing all the baggage he brought, was controversial from the start. Haslam defended it, saying, "We did what we felt was in the best interest of our team." We still feel that way. But are they really doing that? Because right now, it looks like one of the worst decisions in franchise history. Garrett has every right to be frustrated. This is a guy who should have had a team built around him, not one stuck in perpetual chaos. And now, as he steps onto the field in a different uniform, Browns fans will be left wondering what could have been. Unfortunately, it sounds like he doesn't believe the Browns can get him there. That's tough to hear, but let's talk about the financial side of this potential trade, because it's not just about losing a star player, but the long-term implications for the roster. According to the salary cap expert, moving Garrett would be a nightmare for the Browns' salary cap. Trading Garrett wouldn't be easy for the Browns to work with their salary cap. He's been restructured every year, which means over $36 million in cap charges if he's traded. He also has a bonus due in March. If the Browns trade him before June 1st, they'd be taking on a whopping $36.2 million in dead money and a $16.5 million cap charge. Waiting until after June 1st would spread the dead money out over 2 years, $14.8 million in 2025 and $21.5 million in 2026. But that timeline doesn't make much sense if they're trying to get draft capital for this year. To put that $36.2 million hit in dead money into perspective, only 2 teams in the entire NFL have that much dead money combined for 2025. And guess what? The Browns are already one of them, thanks to previous trades involving Amari Cooper and Zadarius Smith. If you think that's bad, it gets worse. Quarterback Deshaun Watson is set to count $72.9 million against the cap, and with Garrett potentially out, you're looking at more than $70 million tied up in players who aren't even on the roster anymore. This is next-level salary cap chaos. So where does that leave General Manager Andrew Berry? In a really tough spot. If rebuilding is the most logical path for the Browns, then perhaps the financial hit shouldn't stop them from making this move. But let's be honest, moving on from a player like Garrett is going to hurt for years, both on the field and on the payroll. It's a stark reminder of how poorly the roster has been managed in its quest for a championship. Now, I want to hear from you. Should the Browns bite the bullet and trade Garrett despite the huge financial consequences? Or is there another way to turn this ship around without losing one of the league's best defensive players? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you can, say, stay Garrett. And don't forget, if you found this analysis helpful or even just enlightening, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Go Browns!